Hey Mayara, how you doing? So good to see
Hey,
you.
so good to see you too. Super excited.
Yeah, me too. We've been talking about doing this interview for a while now, and I'm so happy that we finally nailed it down and now we're here. So let me tell you about my friend Mayara. I met her back in 2021. We both were doing a social media manager course, and we clicked kind of right away because I was looking for somebody to help me with some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. So Mayara is a very creative, free spirit entrepreneur, and she's been helping with my brand and my website since 2021 actually.
Yeah.
So she likes to create a strategies that empowers women entrepreneur and also small business owner to build authentic, bold, and also profitable brands. She has years of experience on branding, web design, and strategy, and she combines also this creativity with actionable solutions that help her clients grow business with their proud and the core visions that their clients have. So I would love to hear, or for people to hear, all of the things that I've been experienced as your current client
Mhm.
and all of the things that people probably that are looking or have already either a website, a landing page. They're trying to figure out how can they utilize that much better to, get people on board, future clients, or promote their products. So let me ask you about this one. It sounds simple, but I've seen some questions around with other clients as well. Like, I'm working with a client right now, and we were trying to decide on this one. So the first question that I would love for you to help us is, um, between deciding in a landing page or a portfolio or a full-on website, what's the difference between all of them?
Okay. So if we're talking landing page, we usually go for one specific CTA, so a call to action. It's either you're making a landing page for a webinar or for one specific product. It's a one thing only. People go there to purchase that, to do that one action. If it's a portfolio, then that's usually something that you're always going to have, especially if you're in creative fields. You're either going to have that inside your own website or as a standalone thing. It's a simpler page, I would say, and it's not really a place where people go to take action. They go to see your background, what you have created, and then a website is the complete experience. That's where people go to read about you, to maybe fill out a contact form, to subscribe to your newsletter. And if you are creative, then maybe you're going to have your portfolio inside your website. You can have, of course, a landing page as well. So the website is like the complete thing that's going to catapult your business into success. But it's hard to decide where to start because it feels daunting to think about a website when you're just starting out. It's like it's a big project to take on. So yeah, I think landing page is the one thing that everyone should have. And if you are in a creative field, a portfolio is almost a must. I think it's hard to get your first few clients if you don't have one.
That's great. That is true. I remember back in the day when we started working together. I remember the first time before getting to meet you, I had another website made, and I have my two brands inside of that website. However, I noticed that a lot of people were getting confused because I was not, like you were mentioning, I was not being clear with the message, and they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So that's where I reached out to you, and you helped me to clarify and make sure that people knew where to go for each brand. We have two brands that we've been working with. I have a follow-up question on that because there are certain um, platforms that offer templates for people to
Mhm.
build in, even though if you're not a seasoned web designer. What is the pro and cons on using those templates And at the end of the day, what people need to know if they go to that route to optimize, fully optimize their website.
Yeah, I mean, I think Squarespace, for example, and Showit are huge in that area. Like it's so easy to just build your own website, and I'm not against that at all. And I think when you start to consider your budget, your timeline, sometimes those are the easiest and fastest options to get your website out there. Of course, as your business grows, the idea is that you have something that's your own and that's more about authenticity, just having your own unique look there, but also just these platforms can disappear in the blink of an eye. So if you have something that's self-hosted, then you're a little bit more sure that your website is going to be there for years to come. But I think the number one thing that you need to do with any template, because so many people are using the same thing, is just customizing it to your brand colors, brand fonts, having your own images, not really using stock images for that or AI generated images, being as authentic as you can be. So you make something that's for the masses or for multiple people kind of your own, and then you have all the little things that go behind the scenes that a lot of people sometimes don't even know that happen, like
Yeah.
all the SEO, the basic SEO. And I'm not an expert in SEO at all, but there are things like the title of your pages need to be a certain way and under a certain amount of characters, descriptions of pages, keywords, the amount of times that you use the same keyword throughout the page. All of that really influences how your website performs. So there are many tiny details that you need to learn over time.
Yeah, it's true. I agree with that. And I've seen like from my personal, experience working with other clients, where at the end of the day, even if they want a simple setup, like you were saying with a template, they still need to run those optimizations steps.
Yeah, for sure. Even the size of your images, sometimes your image is too large, it's going to take too long to load. So, running a few tests on your page speed, all of that is just really important.
Well, thank you, Maria, for that because it's true. Like I mentioned it before, sometimes you kind of like get carried away and think, "Oh, I'll just do it myself," and you ended up actually wasting a lot of time, which time is gold nowadays.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I've learned through the years, that if something that we can outsource and save a lot of time and move with our schedule, it will be much better. It's that falls into the being more productive and streamlining the business, honestly.
Mhm.
So now that we're talking about streamlining the business, helping to be very optimized with this website, so how can entrepreneurs decide which one need first?
I think the first thing is going back to your goal. What is it that you need right now with this page? And I feel like this is especially for people starting out, because if you're already a few years into business, I hope you have a page of your own, a website.
Yeah.
But just think back to your goal. Are you there to collect leads at the moment, to sell a product, to showcase your work? So refer back to that, and then just thinking who that website and that page is for. What does your audience want to see? What do you think they're going to be looking for when they go, I don't know, to your link in bio? What do they expect to see there? How much content and what functionalities you need right now? Like maybe you're a service provider and you need a booking calendar embedded to your website, and people to trust you need to know a little bit more about you, so you need an about page that starts to get a little bit bigger. Your budget and your timeline. So how much money can you spend right now, or how much time can you dedicate to it, and when do you need to have it live? And just, I think one thing that people overlook sometimes is just how scalable it needs to be, because like I said, I think Showit and Squarespace are fine for starting out, and I
Mhm.
know businesses that run on them for a really long time. But I'm a big WordPress user and believer. So WordPress is what huge companies use, and it's going what's going to allow you to scale in the long term. So if you already know where you're going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, then go for the best route for yourself.
That sounds great. I like that. And I know, thankfully, my two brands are on WordPress, so we're good
Yeah.
there. It really did strike me a little bit when you mentioned it. This site sometimes can just go down and you lose everything, right?
Yeah.
Um, Made me think about the hosting situation.
Yeah, we've had that in the
So
past.
yes. So how can we choose a good hosting? Because I know I had a couple of heart attacks last year,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'll let you go with that one.
Yeah, no, and I think especially when it comes to self-hosted, like when you use WordPress or even when you're just hosting your own files, it gets so technical that doing it by yourself is never recommended. And even with the help of a professional, sometimes if you don't pick a good provider, then you're in bad hands. It doesn't matter who's there to help you. So definitely daily backups is like it's something even I learned the hard way the last couple of years, either manually or having a plugin. If you have WordPress, they do daily backups, but also good hostings, they should provide you with that. And now we migrated yours. I also use Hostinger. I don't know if can I say Hostinger, yeah, which is the one that we use now, and like it's one of my favorites. There are many good ones, but that's the one I've been using for a lot of clients and for myself. And I know that they're always available on chat. I don't need to call them. That's very outdated. So customer support 24/7, daily backups, just making sure that you have a very easy dashboard to navigate because it can get very technical. And if you just want to find something quickly there or
Yeah.
just change a setting, you don't want to go over too many steps. Server location is one thing that we usually consider. So we want to have your server as close to you physically as possible. So for example, for my websites, it's here in Europe, but if you're in the US, you're gonna want to have it in Canada, in Mexico, or in the US. So it's the website is going to load faster. And I don't even know how that works with those websites like Squarespace and others. But with WordPress, you have the flexibility, not WordPress, self-hosted, you have the
Mhm.
flexibility of choosing where that's going to be. And I think finally it's pricing. Of course, everyone wants cost benefit, to be good. But there are a lot of websites when you first go to the homepage, it's like $2 a month for new users. And you're like, you get so starstruck, like, okay, $2 a month, it's very cheap. But then you don't realize that the renewal rates maybe are 10 times that price. So just reading the fine print is super important. So there are like all these little things that sometimes a professional can really help you decipher. But I think these are the ones I would go for if you're doing it by yourself as well.
Love that. I love that. The fine print. It's so
Yeah.
important to read that
Yeah,
because we live in, I feel personally that we live in an era where the shiny object wins instead of,
for sure.
time, patience, slow
Yeah.
growth, and it just takes time. And I like that. I like that. We need to be very aware and careful what we're signing up for. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to learn a hard way too. So I'm so happy to have you on my side and guide me and jump in
Yeah.
when these emergencies happened. And also, I was wanting to address basically if you, if you will, the elephant in the room because I've noticed that there's a little, basically, we have two groups. One people are pro AI when creating content, and then we have other people that don't think that's ethical. So I would like to help us and address this concern. How can AI assist in an ethical way when creating content for the website or the landing page?
Yeah. No, I'm definitely pro AI in a lot of situations. I think it's still such a gray area. While we don't have regulations, it's still going to be a gray area. But I think the number one thing is just always having that human touch. You're never going to just copy paste something that ChatGPT put out. It's not only not your content, but also I think people can tell when it's ChatGPT generated, at least if you've played around with it a little bit. There are expressions that it uses regularly in the way it structures the text. So people can tell, and I think with the age of AI, people want the human touch more than ever. I think that's what we're going to start valuing more and more. But yeah, the ethical side of AI is still very difficult to decipher. There are, for example, image generators that they say they were trained on images that were consented by the authors. At the same time, you don't really know where those images initially came from, so it snowballs. And I think I do use ChatGPT a lot for a lot of things, but those are like brainstorming ideas. And one exercise that I really love doing, and I think like a long time ago I even told you that, it's just like talking to ChatGPT or to into a microphone, literally talking. I go on for like 5-10 minutes, and I just like say whatever it is, and then at the end I'm like, just help me sort this out, or like put this into an outline, or generate a caption from this. And I think for me at least, that comes from my point of view, and that comes from me. It's not per se AI generated. So that's how I would go about it. Like if you need copy for a landing page and you cannot hire a professional right now because sometimes you don't have the budget to go all in all the services you need, definitely like talk to it in your own voice, and then just use that as a starting point, not as the final product.
Like that. That is true. Actually, there are some companies they do, or institutions, or I must say, that do allow you to use AI. And I've noticed that, for example, I do use it. I do use it to, like you were mentioning, to brainstorm, or I even like ask for opinions about some
Yeah.
ideas that I have, or to structure something better. But it's my content. It's my own.
Mhm.
I'm the author of that. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to have a little help with the,
Mhm.
aesthetic, basically,
Yeah,
of the
definitely.
content.
Yeah, I
But
think
I do.
proofreading, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think proofreading, for example, you type out a
Hmm.
text and you just need to
Yeah,
proofread it, especially for us when English is not our first language. We
yeah.
just want to be sure that it's all correct. I think that's fine. You're not really copying, because there's also
Mhm.
that with the AI, you can pick up from different sources, and then
Right.
you can fall into the plagiarism area, and you don't want that. So you always want to verify the information that it's spitting back out to you.
Let's follow up on that because you mentioned something very important. And so, what should entrepreneurs avoid when using the AI to creating content?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely just the copy and paste thing. Don't ever just give it a short prompt like, write me a blog post
Hmm.
on trends of social media this year, and then just copying that
Hmm.
and pasting into your blog. First of all, because you fall into that copyright area, but also it can give you a lot of wrong data. Sometimes
Hmm.
I try to get data like, give me some statistics on this and that, and then when I go to verify it, it's not correct. So just keep that in mind, that if there are numbers there, there's a huge chance they are wrong. But the whole idea behind AI is that it pulls from so many sources and then combines into something new, and you can get like complete paragraphs or complete sentences that come from an existing post, existing news article. So you want to use maybe a second or third tool to verify if it's copying from somewhere. I think Grammarly has that feature
Yes.
now, that they verify if it's already existing in an article. And I think one of these days I was using for a caption, and even though I was typing it out, it's still corrected in a way that was very similar to another author. And I was like, okay, so even there, there's still that chance.
I do believe that because I recently, I was working on an essay for my EMBA, and I do like to proofread, and Grammarly. And by the way, as a disclaimer, we're not sponsors or
Yeah, by
by
any
any
of the tools we're
means.
mentioning. Yeah.
No, 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 not at all. Not by Hostinger, not by Grammarly, but those are tools that we use. So it's true because when I was doing, and recently I'm working in another project for my EMBA, and I like I was mentioning, just to proofread everything and make sure that I'm not pulling, even that is my own content, I'm not pulling anything or very similar from another author. And it does, I love that it does point exactly the paragraph or the words
Mhm.
or the ideas that you need to
Yeah.
fix in, just to make sure. um, that's a good way to use also because it's an AI type
Yeah.
um, tool. So that's, I really like that, like you were mentioning, especially because English is not our first language. We want to make sure, and I just want to expand just a little bit on that aspect. Even though I do use and we do use these tools, like you were saying, you still want to sound like yourself,
Yeah.
because I've noticed there's so many very polished content
Mhm.
out there, and I can tell 100% that's AI content. I mean, I don't even finish reading the second line of that content because I'm like, she's or he's not talking to me.
Yeah.
It's chatbot is talking to me. So
Yeah.
we kind of, as a creators and entrepreneurs, I believe that being authentic, raw, but at the same time, you can curate that same being authentic and being raw, but curate a little bit to the point that you can present that content to people. And that goes to all the content in your website as well.
Yeah.
So I want to jump out on talking about authenticity and being yourself. That falls into your personal branding, in your branding.
Yeah.
So how does branding influence the success of the landing page or your portfolio or your website? Because personally, I do like the way that you're carrying out your personal brand. I've seen your feed, your post, and you can tell, I can tell who Mayara is, and I feel connected. I feel like she's the real deal, and she has her, um, the free spirit and creativity. I can tell in your post. So how can we kind of like translate that and put it into the website in a way that it's presentable, is one more time authentic, and but at the same time it's not over curated in you're working in your brand.
Yeah, no, and branding is like such a vast universe because you're going to have under branding your visual identity, your tone of voice, and I always like to think of brands as a person. So
Mhm.
how like would your brand be, as a person? How do they talk? How do they write online? Like do they use emojis and slangs and all of that? So whenever I'm doing, for example, brand strategy, that's one
Mhm.
of the questions that we have there, like how are we going to communicate with the audience? And I feel like especially for websites, the tone of voice, the communication is number one. You can have a very simple layout and template, but if you're using the right words to capture the people, to captivate the people, then you're going to get them to the goal that you want them to get to. So definitely I feel like for websites is your tone of voice, is how you talk, and that's why you don't just use AI, because then you lose all the soul of the thing. People cannot tell who you really are, what it is, who it is you're talking to. And then we go into the fonts and colors. That's something that you need to have. And it's not just picking pretty fonts and pretty colors. There's a whole psychology behind it, and that goes even deeper. Like a lot of people talk about psychology of colors. It's even deeper than that. You're not going to pick blue just because it's a trustworthy color. You really want to think about the bigger picture and how your audience is going to relate to that and what your competitors are doing. So there's just so much research that goes into picking those things. But I feel like if you have the right font, and sometimes it's even more important than your logo, the right font, the right colors, a good language, then you're good to go.
Great, that's super great insights because I was thinking something that I read a while ago about knowing your type of personality too and how that can
Hmm.
influence in your branding, how you can leverage that instead of like
Yeah.
hiding it or putting it away. Um, I will say that um, taking ownership of that personality, like you were saying, making it your own. And
Yeah.
there are some tools out there and professionals also that can help you and guide you. But if people can't obviously afford for, to have their personality test made up from a professional, there are other, tools that
Yeah.
you can find out there in, like you were saying, especially about the colors. There are palettes that in they are like this kit
Hmm.
of colors that helped you, and you can see yourself in those
Yeah.
colors also. So that's
Yeah.
how I see it.
Yeah. And I think a lot
Recently,
comes from self knowledge as well, just knowing yourself. Because for me, like, there's a lot of talk about authenticity online now, and it's not just like showing absolutely everything about your life. There are a lot of things about
yeah,
my life that I keep to myself, and then others that people are
yeah,
like, why are you sharing this? But for my brand, it makes sense. So it's really curating your own life, knowing what you want to share, the side of you that you want to show. It doesn't mean that you're being fake if you're not showing certain things. You're just creating your online persona.
I love that. I love that. That is true. That is a lot of stuff that there's people that feel comfortable sharing, and especially if they are influencers,
Hmm.
makes sense, to share a lot of aspect of their life. But in your particular case, or as a website designer, and in my case as an online business manager, there's just like things that make sense to
Yeah.
share about, and there's other things that I don't think people pay attention to that. But
Yeah.
it's a very clear message that we want to deliver to
Mhm.
our future clients with the branding and the content. And overall, the conversation that we've been having today has been so, I think we've been deliver a lot of education and guidance also for for the people out there that even though they do have right now probably a website or portfolio, they haven't seen the real um, result that they wanted to
Yeah.
from the website. So I would love for you to let the audience know, that people that are took the time, and we thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Um, this has been my pleasure, just to say the least, to have this amazing conversation with you. But I was wondering if you could let the audience know where can they find you, and if you have an extra tip that we can follow up and have with us.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm on Instagram. I think that's my main platform for the past couple of years. It's at mayarasouza.co. My website, mayarasouza.com. And I create content on YouTube. I'm still finding myself on YouTube, but you can also find me under my name there. And I prepared a checklist, whether you're going to create a landing page, a portfolio, or a website. So up to 10 steps for each one of those for you to follow, so you can find it in the description of this interview, and I hope people will make the most of it.
That would be amazing. For sure, I'm going to be downloading that checklist as well.
Perfect.
It's so appreciate for your time, for your expertise, and we want the goal with this interview, with this conversation. It's for people to have a better guidance on how can how can they decide what do they need right now for their businesses, for themselves. And I super appreciate that. And as Nayara mentioned, we're gonna link all the details below of this video. We're gonna be featuring on her channel and this channel the interview. So we're gonna be so thankful if we have a feedback. Let us know what do you think. If there's a follow-up question that you would like me to ask Mayara for a future interview. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Me too.